On this episode of Estate and CX, I'm with Rob Webb from Kinetic Estate Agents. Rob's got a business in Lincoln. They cover sales, lettings, and new homes. Rob covers the highs and lows of his business in the last 7 years, from like mental health, team culture, data, AI. So this is a really, really good packed episode, and I hope you enjoy it.
Estate and CX, the UK's #1 estate agency podcast discussing the future of estate agency, entrepreneurship and business with hosts Mark Burgess and Rob Brady.
So Rob, welcome to the show. For anyone listening or watching out there, Rob Webb from Kinetic Estate Agents. So Rob, give a bit of background to any listeners or viewers out there who don't know who Rob is, never seen you on LinkedIn, and how you've arrived at estate agency today.
Yeah, no problem at all. I've only just started using LinkedIn, actually. Just started to use the power of LinkedIn. But yeah, I'm the director of Kinetic Estate Agents. We're based in Lincoln. Opened in August 2017. So 8 years this year we've been open and trading.
So setup of your business right now?
As in?
Are you a estate agency or a letting agency?
Oh, sorry, yeah. So yeah, we're mainly estate agency. We do lettings as well, but at the moment we're kind of capped on that because I need to get more office space so we can grow. But yeah, our main focus is residential resale, but I do have a new home side to the business as well. So we specialise, and I've got a specialist new homes team.
And what's the size of the sort of, how many people have you got in your team at the moment?
Altogether, including myself, there's 11 of us.
So quite a good size actually for a one branch, effectively, agency.
Yeah.
So you set up in 2000. You said 17, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's run back before then. So has estate agency been in your blood before then?
Yeah, I worked in agency. I started in 2006, I think it was. Worked for corporate agents for a while. I was in there for maybe 4 or 5 years, then I dipped out, then I dipped back in again, and then an opportunity came up to open up in 2017. So I thought, you know what, let's just go for it.
Yeah. So similar to me actually, because I remember I was working in a job and I said, well, I'm going to go into estate agency in about 2006.
Yeah.
And they were saying, well, you at the time markets were reasonably still good. And then obviously Hellfire then took place a few years after that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You said I certainly learnt my craft in that period of time. So so before 2006, was it what was your sort of line of work before that? What was your?
I was just, if I'm honest with you, I was just young, bound, sort of moving from customer service to telephone sales as well. I think I was doing. Yeah. I used to work for a company called Phones for You in a mobile phone shop in Nottingham. That was probably my first real job.
Yeah.
I used to come bounding up to people trying to sell them a Nokia 3210. Whatever they were.
Was it Phones for You?
Yeah, and people used to walk past and do all that Phones for You stuff as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I did about 1.5 years on that actually, which it was enjoyable, it was fun, but it wasn't for me for forever. And then that's when I started I did customer service for a little while after that, and then got into agency.
And then so, was it just a case of like you were interested in property, or was it just a random job and thought, fuck it, might as well give agency a go?
Yeah, if I'm completely honest with you, I saw a job advert. I didn't have any experience, but I thought, you know what, I'll put myself out there. Sounds good. Sounded a little bit more professional than running around selling not that there's anything wrong with that, but I wanted out of that shop. It was really, we get lots of people walking in a bit crazy at times. So yeah, I got an interview. I got the job. I started in Loughborough, which is towards Leicester, and then I moved to West Bridgford. Am I allowed to name who I work for?
Yeah.
So I worked for Hart for quite some time. That's where I learned my craft at Hart.
And so going back to that 2006 period, so you were fresh to the industry. You're in a corporate sort of machine. They probably had their own internal training you probably went through. I was at Connells, so pretty much similar entry to you. I was at Connells in Leighton Buzzard area during my training, and sort of Kentway, and you were sort of further up the road. So what did you learn in those early days of being under Hart and the brand, and also what did you learn in that going into the shit bit of the market that probably no one ever really saw?
Yeah, well, I got thrown in the deep end actually when I started. I just got sent to Leicester for my training, which wasn't really training as such. I just landed in branch one day, and there's a lad, Rob Anderson. He's on my LinkedIn. He's a real nice guy. But he was out, like, sort of trained me up in house as such, and then I went from there to there was no. I didn't have a trainer. A trainer did come in the end, but I was just literally chucked in the deep end. I didn't know anything about estate agency dynamics. I didn't know about anything, and it was just a case of learning the systems and then learning about viewings and everything else.
So did you come in literally as like a neg role?
So literally came in as a trainee neg. I think it's Paul Hughes, his name was, that interviewed me. I don't follow him. Yeah.
And what was the original perception like you had from what you thought estate agency was to that sort of first few months?
Well, because obviously there's a lot of stigma around estate agents, and I probably did fit that stereotype, to be honest with you. You know, I was going in I had my short back and sides and electric blue suit and tie. Exactly. Yeah, I thought I was bloody brilliant. So I was probably feeding into the stereotypes, to be honest with you, because that's what I thought it was about. But yeah, it's all I knew at the time. You know, we used to come in, morning meeting. We would need to be there for 8:15 in the morning. We'd have to do morning meetings. We'd be looking at we'd have a big whiteboard out there where we'd be throwing pledges out, which I never really fully understood, you know, because in my own head, I thought, well, I'm coming to work and, you know, I want to work my hardest and do my best and sell as many houses as I can. So I suppose that morning meeting to me was more of a lip service than anything else, you know, saying that, I pledge I'm going to get 3 mortgage appointments. I pledge I'm going to get 5 viewings. But really what I was doing was my best anyway. So, and yeah, it was very targeted, very structured. But I'm not here to slag off another agent. They taught me my trade. I met some lovely people there as well, and I'm still in contact with some people.
And how long were you there for?
I was with them for about 5, maybe 4 years or something like that.
4 years. So sort of coming out the end of I would say not exactly like the better-ish of the market. So.
Well, no, I worked through that recession, 2007, 2008, and it was horrendous. It was really hard. And I can remember just having to adapt. So, and I did adapt pretty well, because we'd gone from learning how to use a hot box. It was always very much applicant focused when I started. You know, you've got your hot box, you've got these top 10 buyers, you must call all these applicants, tell them about this house, ring them now. But of course, within, you know, a space of a couple of months, there wasn't many applicants, and applicants weren't buying houses anymore. So I realized pretty quickly that I had to flick to the other way. It was about stock management. So the properties that we had on the market, obviously the values were coming down, and it was about educating the vendors, getting them to realign the prices to entice the buyers through the door. So it went from being very applicant based to property based, and I think I've always been like that since then as well. I've always been the focus of being on the client, the seller, and just making sure that things are running smoothly there.
Because I think that's quite similar. Like, I've noticed it recently in the last maybe the last year or so, where the market's changed from when we came out of COVID. And a lot of new entry agents into the market. Because the owners needed more staff. And it was like, we'll just key for the door, I'll put you in place. And then I speak to them, and they're like, a lot of them are now struggling with how to perform in a different market. And it's not a case of we've got 30 viewings for this one property and I'll just put a key for the door and I'm an estate agent. You really made me really relive my memory back into that 2007-8. I was in Connells. I was working in a place called Maidstone. So it's like exactly that. I remember that, going from like loads of buyers to then like, have we spoken to these sellers? What's the price reductions? And at the time, I was actually selling my mum and dad's marital home, and I was having to have calls with my own dad saying, like, you need to reduce your price at this point. And he was like, but that's below. I was like, but when we exchange, the market would have probably dropped and we're coming out the other side. And it's just like crazy to think that sort of market was very tough. So you're there for sort of 4 or 5 years. And then what led you on after that before?
I moved on to some more corporate agents for a while. And after a while, it just burnt me. I just didn't want to work. In fact, it put me off agency. I thought, I'd come to a point where, and I was a hard worker. I liked, I had a lot of banter and a lot of jokes, and but I was focused. I wanted to be the best version of myself. I just wanted to do well. But I think with how it was for me, you know, whilst yes, you win the awards or whatever, it was great. There wasn't necessarily that support or recognition in the branches. You know, I think there was a motto that was always used, which is, you know, you're only as good as your last sale. You know, you're only as good as your last sale. And in the end, I just thought, no, you know what? I don't want to put all my efforts into companies that don't, because the money, yes, you're earning reasonable money and it's great, but that's not all you want. Well, I guess people want different things, but certainly for me, the money wasn't my driver. It was being the best that I could be, but having that infrastructure and support from, you know, management as well.
So you got to the point where you got fed up with the corporate grind.
Yeah.
And then what? And then did you go and set up the agency then?
No. I went into I had enough of estate agency corporate grind, so I went into car sales. So I went into car sales for a while, but honestly, it was like jumping out the frying pan into the fire for me. It was, you know, again, meetings in the morning, bloody whiteboards and target this and target that. And like, you know, again, I'll just smash it. I'd go in there, I want to smash it, that's it, and go home. I don't want these, you know, pledges and meetings and everything else. And, you know, we need to do better. Well, you know, we're doing well. So yeah, at that point, I went from car sales. I thought, you know what? I loved agency. It's what I was really good at. I loved dealing with the customers, vendors, applicants. So I thought I'm just going to open up, set up on my own, and just see how I get on.
And so what was that process like for you? Because obviously we you know, the podcast is focused on entrepreneurship and business and estate agency. So there might be some people who we do get listeners out there who might be then wanting to take that next step. So what was that process like for you when you thought, right, I really loved agency. I loved actually what I did. I don't want to be in the car industry. I want to go and set up. Obviously, it's not as easy just to go, right, I'm going to go and set up tomorrow. So how much sort of prep did that go through? Was it a period of time that you went through?
Yeah, so me and my friend had started, you know, some dialogue together about opening up together.
Yeah.
He had met a businessman, you know, that was, you know, quite affluent, but very supportive as well. And he said he might be interested in investing in setting up an agency with us. So me and my friend ran up and did like a proper business plan. Bearing in mind, I hadn't had any managerial experience, so I just wasn't a sensible. I wasn't really a sensible guy. I just like working hard and prattling about, going on to whatever. But yeah, we put this business plan together. Erin's his name, and he said, "Yeah, you know what? I will help you." He goes, "I'm not putting all the money in. I want to see you guys putting money in." So I put some of my savings in. My friend put some of his savings in. He put some money in. My parents said, "Look, we want to help you as well." So in some respects, I was lucky, but I still opening up at high cost. So, you know, I had to find. It's not like I'm a self-employed agent underpowered by whoever. We had to get an office. Wasn't on the high street, but we had to buy gear. I was giving up my company car. So, you know, so I had to get a car as well. And then that was it. We just kind of set the wheels in motion.
And what did you think from like day one that you thought, I don't want my agency to be like what I've learned? So was there anything particular that you aspired your agency to be around?
Yeah, I think at first I just wanted to be, because it was only me and my friend at the beginning. We didn't have other staff. So I think the idea of the agency, certainly for me, was that we were just a normal agency. It wasn't, that's what I wanted. So we're a little bit different. My friend was still quite corporate in the shirts and ties. And I kept saying to him, "Look, I don't want to wear, I hate ties. I don't want to wear them." And he was convinced that you could only list properties if you were wearing a three-piece suit and a tie. And I used to say to him, "It's not true." I used to say to him, "People relate to you better, will relate to you better if you're open and you're more relaxed and projecting yourself rather than who are you projecting when you're wearing the shirt and tie?" Because in my normal life, I'm not walking around in shirts and ties. So I'm just projecting someone else's image of persona. And how can you truly be free to be yourself and be a human agent if you're like that? For me personally.
No, I mean, I used to think that I had to wear glasses to work to make myself more intelligent. So that when people going back to the house, you'd see that you'd sound like you're more intelligent enough to sell the house.
Yeah.
And then clients would see me out of work and they go, "You got your glasses on." I'm like, I never. Yeah. It's crazy. I was exactly like you. Like I look back in the old days, and I was like 3-piece suit, and I was so uncomfortable in those suits.
Horrible.
I've never really been a trim person, so I've always been. You packed in there, especially on a hot summer's day. And now I look back and I think like it's crazy because like now I went to try to go to a wedding the other day and I was like, do I have to wear a suit?
Yeah, I don't wear a tie at weddings. I don't wear them anymore because I
crazy.
But I know that's another thing as well. When I worked for corporate, on the really hot days, they had to phone us. They would phone up a chain of command to see if you were allowed to take your tie off. So literally, the manager in there you'd say, "Look, I need to take my tie off. I'm dripping with sweat," and he'd say, "I'm really sorry. I need to get the authority from upper." So they would call up upper management to ask if you could take. I mean, that is crazy to me. But yeah, back to that point. Me and my friend, we opened up. We were slightly different. I think he was a lot more corporate. He had worked. So we worked together at Hearts. He had kind of worked at William H. Brown, other things. So we're quite corporate, but he was more corporate than I was. Sorry, so we had a different mindset. So I mean, I did buy him out a year and a half later because we were just too different.
I was about to say that was my next question. I was saying because it sounded like that he was or he's worked like. When did that relationship sort of come to a point where you thought, actually, this partnership probably isn't right because I want to go this style and you want to go that style. So a year and a bit later. So you've got 8 years of now being at the steering that ship. So how have you found that 8-year period?
It's been honestly so up and down. I mean, our industry is up and down anyway. You know, we're reliant. You know, anything changes, it can affect the housing market, financial landscape, political landscape, you know, whatever's happening. So we're up and down anyway. But I found the whole journey to be quite emotionally up and down. You know, when we opened the doors to the office, we finally opened. Obviously, we didn't have people coming through the doors saying, "Oh, hi, guys, we really want to use you. You look really good." You know, I was having to fight for business. And I mean, literally, I would be knocking on doors, left, right, and centre. Please, you know, give us an opportunity. People would say, "Oh, no, well, we'll think about it, but you're just new. And our agent has told us that you might go bankrupt as well. And, oh, you're not based on the high street," because actually, back then, we were probably one of the first agents to open quite a distance away from the town centre. So we opened up on like a tiny little shop like a street in the middle of a housing estate, really. Everyone else was either in the city, on the high street, or they were in like your big sort of premium shopping complexes, you know, where lots of others. So we're kind of up against it anyway. So yeah, I think at first it was scary. So I was thinking, I need to get business, need to get it. And that was hooker by crook, knocking on doors, sending out like all the old school stuff, letters. And luckily people gave us a chance. So there was a few people that, you know, you guys look like you know what you're talking about. We'll give you an opportunity. And the first thing I did as soon as we got listings on was social media, get it on there, and social proof as well. Get the reviews on straight away. Like we've done it. We've sold this, and it went well. We started growing reasonably well, but me and my friend started then growing in different directions, wanted different things for the business. I would then come in not wearing a shirt and tie, and I think it used to upset him. And we just wanted different things.
And naturally, obviously, it's confusing for the seller because like you go around there and see them. And then maybe if they see your friend, it might be thinking, like, do they even work for the same brand?
Yeah.
Or is he the IFA that's got, you know, when it's
exactly. Yeah. So
and you said you got 11 members of staff.
Yeah.
So, you know, when was the first time? How long in that journey did you actually take on your first?
So first member of staff came in 2018. So we'd done. We opened in August 2017. Took on our first member of staff June 2018. She'd come from a corporate company but she was not a corporate person. So she was, you know, a real nice, just a lovely person. She's still with me now. So, you know, so yeah, really nice, very friendly, just the type of person you'd want to represent your brand. And then after that, I bought my friend out, and then I hired another person that's still with me now, Jo. She does all that. She's like a sales manager, so she does all the sales progression. And then I hired someone else just after that, Matt, who's still with me now.
Good.
In fact, most of my, I mean, I've built up the staff, but most of them have stayed. There's only been a couple, I think there's only 2 losses. But most people I've retained since I first employed them.
That's good, because that's, you know, especially when you've been established for that 7-year period, and it's going towards the 10.
Yeah.
You have that original knowledge that you've wanted crafted, and if you get that conveyor belt of people, and all of a sudden you're just a lost brand.
Because that's what I wouldn't want as well. And that's what I learned from, so when we talk about my experience with an agency, when I knew I'd get to a point where I wanted, you know, where we got a team and we were building a team, it was staff culture. That's what was important to me. So I always had this mindset that if I'm employing people that I need to babysit, to, you know, pledge and to target, like, obviously there's little bits here and there, but I mean, to completely target, drive, to completely pledge, then I'm either hiring the wrong people or I'm not inspiring them enough to want them to be the best versions of themselves. So I didn't want to babysit people. I wanted to lead with encouragement, you know, like support, but like what I didn't have, because I think that brings out the best in them as well.
I think, a lot around the autonomy of individual staff, for them to feel like they have their own drive and purpose. A bit like you said, like the call of the chain of command, just take your tie off. Like, what's the reverse of that? So like, I can have and I speak to a lot, like I've had a lot of agency owners over the last sort of few years. I spoke to them about, they talk about performance. So I'm a big believer in the same values of what you said. And I've said to them, like, if you think about it, like, if your team member has 2 modes of thinking, if they're under pressure thinking all the time and stressed, they can never get into the mode of being creative, or thinking about something new, or fresh ideas, because they're in fear mode all the time. So if you can alleviate that in some capacity, and they go into that entrepreneurial mindset, creative mindset, thinker's mindset, then you're going to get the best out of them.
They're going to be a lot more productive. So I thought that what I knew, I'm just going to do the opposite to. Like I said, I didn't have leadership experience. I hadn't been on any courses to become a manager or a leader or whatever. I just did the opposite because I knew what worked for me. So and you know, and I'm really lucky. I built an amazing team, you know, and they've added huge value to the business. I mean, we're the most recommended estate. So our social media, we might be one of the youngest agents in Lincoln, but we've got the most social media 5-star reviews. We've got hundreds and hundreds now on Google, Trustpilot. We've got a huge profile in Lincoln. And that's from, I honestly believe, from having a positive team working within a healthy work culture. You know, there's no, like I say, we don't have these morning meetings. I can have an overview of how the business is performing. I can see where it's weaker. We can have conversations within their work time. Because why do I want to pull people in at 8:30, 8:30 in the morning, when that's time that they could be spending, you know, you spoke to me earlier about your ice baths and your cold showers and your grounding and well-being, but that's time that they could spend doing that stuff. So why would I want to pull them in the office to talk to them about that kind of stuff?
It's a really interesting thing, because it seems like that's a bit, I feel like a lot of, not just even agency, a lot of owners, businesses out there don't understand that they worry about that part, but it's so vital, like that well-being part to team members, because that creates a, like, I look at it going, you think about a performance athlete, they have people who are physios, and then they have people who are mindset coaches, and they look at the performance of, like, your well-being, they look at your bloods, they look at that part to it. So if, as an owner, if you can think about that part to the team members, how do I make their well-being better, they will naturally perform better. Because the machine's running better. So
and you're retaining as well. So you retain, if you've got a happy team feeling valued and enjoying the job, and I'm not deluded enough to think that some of us Some of my team don't think to themselves on the odd days, I fucking hate this job, or sometimes they hate me. But as a whole, you've got a happy team, you're retaining that team. And if you're retaining a team, you're getting consistent results, you're getting consistent reviews. So, I
always liken it to you can be in rocky waters out there.
Yeah.
But if the boat's still solid and the crew's on the boat and that, you can still get through all of it. So even if you've got, like, we have these turmoil things in the estate agency where it's like riding all these waves of like, the government decided to throw a massive curveball and it just completely tanks us.
Yeah.
As long as you've got the strong boat and the team, you can go up and down. You'll come to clear waters. But there's no point having like a boat that's got a load of holes in it, hoping that you're still going to get to the shoreline. So you said you've been on LinkedIn for the last sort of 6 months or so. I've noticed some of the things. I think only, like, was it the other week that I noticed you put something up about industry awards, and you've done, instead of doing the industry awards, you've taken another scheme. Is that?
Yeah.
A bit more about that?
Well, for me personally, I mean, and again, everyone can operate. It's not me slagging off anyone else, but for me, the award thing is a bit more of an ego thing. Is it? Nobody's really coming to your door and saying, right, you won this award. The award companies are a money making enterprise. They'll come in, they'll send you an email. I get emails all the time. You've been nominated for this award, nominated for that award. Email us back if you're interested and book your table here. It's like £1,000 to book a table to come and get an award. In reality, you are buying your awards. That is the truth. You're spending money to buy an award. So I thought to myself, well, actually, I don't want to. I'd rather let our reviews do the talking, because they are the real awards. So what the customers are saying and their testimonials, their recommendations, their reviews are true. That's a reality. It's not a company that's never met us before, doesn't come in looking through our books, speaking to customers and then giving us an award. And then what I'll do is the money that I don't spend on getting awards, I'll put back into the community and do something a bit more productive.
So what was the recent one you did with the community?
So that one, I mean, I did that last time. So I did it. There's a charity in Lincoln called Sophie's Journey, and it's for families that have got sort of children that are not very well, terminal in a lot of cases, and they provide holidays and respites for the families so they can spend time together. So what I do is, instead of spending the money going down to London for the awards, buying the table, I'll just give that money to them so they can send a couple of families away on holiday as well. I've done that a few times with Sophie's Journey. I do quite a bit of community work as well, because I think it's really important, but you have to sort of spread it around a little bit as well. So
that's really good. Like, I can see that having giving a bit more of a purposeful meaning behind your business is very valuable, especially when it comes to the community. Because I think a lot of agencies talk about community, and they say we're in the community. It's like, are you in the community for you, or are you in the community to support the community out there? Like, what are you actually doing in the community? Are you just fundraising for a little bit and then putting your name against it?
Say, look at what I've done. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people they see through that a lot. So you've obviously grown through that process the last 7 years. So what would you say has been your biggest high and your biggest low?
I think my biggest high was
so far.
I think my biggest high was just getting past that sort of 3-year mark, from where everyone would tell you, so many people would say, oh, it's really, setting up on your own, it's really hard. Are you sure? But no businesses survive after a year, and only 10 of them ever survive after 2 years. So all that was in the back of my head, a lot of negativity and a lot of negative reinforcement from people love to give negative, be careful.
Unfulfilled dreams.
Yeah. Well, it's nice. It's nice that you're trying something, but in a couple of years' time, you're welcome back here again. But I think just getting past that 3 years, feeling secure, feeling that actually I've built something pretty safe here now.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of good feedback from clients. We're getting a lot of people coming back to us and a lot of recommendations. So I felt sort of safe. And I think I definitely know what my lowest was, and that was obviously after lockdown we had such a massive market boom. You'll know this, and we couldn't multi-viewings on every house. best and final offers on every house. Everything was selling. I could probably just walk down the street with a house, picture of a house on a piece of paper, and someone would buy it. It was so. I mean, in some ways it was really easy because weren't necessarily have to work as hard on the market. We'd still give them the marketing, but it was selling quickly. But it came from all the chasing. Solicitors were obviously at max capacity, taking a long time to get things through, loads of viewings. So, again, we had to shift on what we're doing. But it was after Liz Truss came out and did that little mini budget or whatever it was, and the market just tanked, like you say. It just went. And within 1 month, the interest rates were shooting up. And, I'd come from feeling that buzz of, I'm earning money I've never seen before in my life. It's really good. I'm feeling not fulfilled but the business is going well. I've had to employ more staff now. We're flying, to all of a sudden the market just dying. And, I was just seeing my working capital depleting month after month after month. We weren't covering costs some months, and of course that would take a chunk out. And, I was that focused on the fear of failure. So I was so scared to fail that I let it eat up and consume my whole life. And I made myself so ill because I was so worried, catastrophized about everything. I mean, it was bad. I couldn't even, I honestly, I couldn't even leave the house. And my partner took me to the doctors, and the doctor said, this is not good. We need to give you some medications, and somebody needs to come and see you. So there was like a mental health support team in Lincoln, like a crisis team, and they would come out alongside the medication. And I wasn't sleeping. I was maybe getting 2 hours night sleep a night, 1 hour. I mean, I was crawling around. Honestly, I was on my hands and knees in my house, crawling out to my girlfriend saying, I'm dying, I'm dying, I'm dying. And that was all stress. That was, they said, they told me it was chronic stress. I thought it was something else. And it was horrendous. And it's taken me a long time. And I mean a long time. It's taken me 2 years to even be here today. I probably wouldn't have done it a year ago. My confidence was so bad. I felt ill inside of myself. And I'll tell you something else about stress. What people it's not just mental, it comes out in physical. You get pains everywhere, you get rashes everywhere, you lose parts of your hair, it's palpitations. It's a combination of both mental and physical. It's horrendous. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, because people who know me, I did a TEDx talk on exactly the same thing. Happened to me in 2016 when I was running the agency. Mask one side, mask the other side. I was 2 or 3 hours asleep a night. I was medicating with alcohol and all sorts of stuff. So I lost a best friend at the time, and he was basically losing him saved me effectively. That was a road to journey. So it's not easy on a podcast like this to talk about this, but equally, on the 5 years I've been doing this side of it, where I spend hours with clients. I've had clients who've had heart attacks on stress and stuff like that. And the perception on what they want to give out to the world, to some of the conversations I've had privately, are two separate people.
Correct.
And the only way they have to find themselves back to harmony is that they have to find themselves back into actually, why do I exist? I only had one client who, he stepped on stage at the Fear conference. The guys were just talking on podcast. Chris doesn't mind saying, because he talked about his open conversations about his stress, and he stood in front of 200 people. And he said, like, a few years ago, never would have been able to do that. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Because when you were going through that process, what was it like within the company going through that process?
And this is where we go back to the beginning, because when you create a good staff culture, then when I was on my, am I allowed to say arse? When I was on my arse?
You can say whatever you want.
When I was on my arse, my team were nothing but supportive.
Amazing.
So they'd come round, they'd walk with me at night time, they'd come round, they'd buy me things. Actually makes me feel a bit sad talking about it now. I'm not going to cry, obviously.
That's powerful leadership there.
They were amazing, and the messages all the time. How you doing? Do you need anything? Do you want us to come over? And yeah, I'm really grateful to them for that as well. And I tell them, I've obviously, but yeah, and I think I had not treated them the way that I had have done when things fell apart for me, if they hadn't have been there, I don't know, where the business would have been and where I would have been, because they were self-sufficient as well. They can, they've been in the business for long enough to know how to run things and operate things to a level. So, whilst I was still popping in every so often over a period of time, they managed things very well, very well.
And so you said obviously it took some time. So for anyone out there maybe who's just listened to this and sort of thought, wow, God, didn't think the podcast maybe was going to go down this route, and might be thinking, God, I relate to Rob. Like, I really relate to some of this, and like probably no one really knows about it. So, I'm a big believer in therapy, counselling, that
Yeah.
route of it. So was that a part of your recovery process?
Yeah, it was part of the recovery process as well. So mindfulness, which is a really big thing now,
Yeah.
and you spoke a little bit prior to and I'm sorry as well that you went through bad times as well, which again you wouldn't realise when you look at someone and you look all fantastic with all your tattoos, you look happy. Do you know what I mean? But I wouldn't look at you necessarily think this is a guy that's been through a little bit of turmoil.
Yeah.
You look like a cheeky happy chappy. So yeah, it's funny how you can but yeah, mindfulness is really important. People spending a little bit of time, whether it's in the morning. I'm not telling them what to do again, but grounding yourself. Just I find myself now, and I was taught this in therapy about sort of listening to a few things that you can hear, feeling of things that you can feel.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yes, 5, 4, 3. Do you know it?
Yeah, exactly.
There we go. I think what you do as well, they call water therapy. That's supposed to be really good for you. Obviously, consult a doctor before you do this, but that's raising endorphin levels and maintaining them for a while. Apparently, again, do your own research.
Yeah.
And yeah, just taking a bit of time out, and of course, affirmations, being a bit more positive on yourself instead of telling yourself you're shit all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm shit. I've messed this up. Oh, I can't do this. Spend a little bit of time saying, you know what, you actually did this. You opened this up. You got a customer. You got this. You built this team along with the help of others, obviously. But be positive to yourself and a bit kind to yourself. I used to think that was mumbo jumbo. By the way, I honestly, if someone had come to me 5 years ago and said about mindfulness and
mental health,
I would have been like, I always had anxiety to levels, but just manage and get on with it. I had panic attack, to get on with it. But I think more so now, I think it is very important to, especially for people that have other people relying on them. So in a business, if you're a business owner and you're susceptible to stress and that could affect the business, make sure they're taking time out to look after themselves, be positive to themselves. I don't know that feeling as well. You said turn into drinks really easy. That is real. That because self-medicating, when you feel stressed and anxious, sometimes there's nothing better than a beer because it takes away that. But it's the worst thing you can do. Honestly, I'll say that to anyone as well. Do not pick up a beer. Therapy, and don't be embarrassed about it either. Just go and get it done.
So it's interesting because obviously where my journey's sort of collide outside agency and doing the coaching, I do a performance workshop, a part of our Business Accelerator program, and people associate performance with me talking about how to do sales training.
Yes,
and all of it is around sort of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, how to build a culture. I get them to question themselves from where they are, where they rate themselves in their personality, and they come out from that workshop thinking, generally, I thought you were going to come to just some performance sales thing, and my theory is like, unless you know yourself and you're comfortable in yourself, how can you be the leader for the others out there? So I really appreciate that.
I always highlight two sets.
No, it's perfect. No, it's perfect because it's nice. It's the reason why we have this podcast is around for people out there who are business owners, leadership, and this is a side that needs to be probably discussed more in those environments. So you sort of come out not to say the other side towards that new way of thinking, new way of light, and everything like that. So and then we've collided as sort of today actually, just met each other face to face, and I'm sure we're going to do some stuff in the future. But you've obviously just joined Iceberg. Tell us a bit of reasons why, like, you're probably now 7 years and you're now trying to go to that another level of business. What was the reason for that?
last September, there was an opportunity arose for me. There was an estate agent in Lincoln that just specialised selling purely new homes. And the owner of that wanted to move on to different pastures, different ventures. So we had a meeting, and I did, in essence, an acquisition with that company, took on the staff. So took on there's 3 members of staff. I did it on the 2P, and then took on the majority of the stock. Some of the owners obviously wanted to try other things. Developers wouldn't come with us, or whatever, which is fine. Took the majority of them all with us. And then I spent a lot of time then sort of growing that side of the business as well, getting them settled in. But one thing I realised, and it goes through how fast time goes, is that obviously when we set up, and we spoke about it earlier, I set up on a shoestring. My CRM system was TAT. It was one that had been acquired by another company, and just, I think it was I don't even know what it did. Our website was like a template website. It didn't even match the colours, but I mean, it cost £700 or something when it set up. So it did what it needed to do and served as a purpose. But I realised very quickly the dynamics of agency is changing. So, and I think to myself, relevance, you have to be relevant to stay on top. So it's something that you have to be consistent in. And, to be relevant, you need to, be innovative.
Yeah.
And part of innovation, obviously, is prop tech. So I started looking around, thinking I need a new CRM system. I had a couple of
went down a rabbit hole, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much so. Yeah, with Paul Best, went down a right deep rabbit hole with it. No, but I had a few demos with a few companies. It probably wouldn't be professional of me to name drop those companies, but I had 4 demos. Okay, and I looked at it all, and life cycle. And I'm not here to promote life cycle. I'll come on the podcast. I'm sure Mark will love it if I promote Mark. I'll promote you now, Mark. But life cycle came up trumps, it came up top. It had everything that I was looking for, more in a CRM system, from being able to manage those journeys to even being able to, integrate AI into, so when the value goes out, he can just talk into his phone and literally it will write the whole thing for him when he's out there. Saves us so much time. And just when I say about morning meetings, now the business snapshot, it gives me straight away, everything that I need to know straight away.
Because before it sounded like when you said you set up, you said, right, social media, I need to make sure I double down my efforts on social media.
Yeah,
that was a focus, and you're actually quite right when you look at the evolution in the way the world was working.
Yes,
2007, the iPhone, social media came in like 11, 12.
Yeah,
the world started to really pick up for the sort of the generations that were using it more than, they say, the younger generation, the 15, 16, 17. So you started to go that route. And what it sounds like, you're starting to realise that actually, like, it's easy to sit and go, well, I've got all my social media, I do really good reviews, and so I'm just going to stay on that relevance. But then it's great to hear that you're thinking, okay, where's the next 7 years of my business going, and where do I need to meet myself in the world? Not just like, I'm just going to carry on doing it.
Well, exactly. And that's what I thought, because to me, I hear, you hear a lot of waffle, especially on LinkedIn. There's a lot of waffle. No offense to the wafflers, but they are trying. They're trying to change the fundamentals of agency, but they kind of deep root it that it is what it is. To me, the most important thing is how sharp you are at the surface. So it doesn't matter, because a handshake will still work in agency. They're the fundamentals. You go and do business, but if you're not, like I say, relevant, and you've not got that innovation, it's like your website, Neuron. That is literally, for a consumer, that presents exactly what they want to see and need to see within nanoseconds. They're not having to do as much searching around. It's making it easy for them as well as for us. And then, of course, being relevant is connecting. So even now, we're here connecting, we're talking. I'm connected in that group. We're talking, we discuss, we share things. And I think probably curiosity is what I think. Being curious, it keeps you relevant. Look at what people are doing. You don't, drop the ego, because I don't know, I'm not the best. I'm definitely not the best. people can do, other people are doing things better in certain things, and other people in other things. So I think look at what people are doing, let them inspire you, and you can equally inspire them. But that keeps you on the top.
When you took up the sort of neuroscience, so obviously we have a mainframe document. How did that help you? Were you prepared for that? Did it throw you any questions you thought? Never really sit down as a business, because a lot of business owners don't necessarily, they just go. You set up day one,
Well,
get some houses and just keep going, and then you go like 7 years down the line, you're thinking, who do I serve and why do I even exist?
Yeah, well, I'll be honest with you, I didn't know all this tech was available. So when I was looking to switch, it was mainly because of I wanted to be able to showcase our new homes off better.
Yeah.
So under separate sort of micro office and a separate feed on Rightmove. And it was for the website. So I was looking for a website, and then I thought, actually, if I'm getting a website, I might as well and when I had these demos, I was like, oh my God, what's integrating AI into it? And my system was, honestly, it was awful. It would open for 5 minutes, then close down again, open back up, close down again. Even putting a property online was horrendous.
Yeah.
It was, So when I did these demos, I was like, oh my God. And then when I saw Life Cycle, I was like, this is the shit, and I need to get this. And Paul Best, I'll tell you what, Paul Best, it was like a crazy ex-girl. He was ringing me every day. I said, Paul, calm down. I'll get back to you in a week. Calm down. He messaged me on LinkedIn, messaging, WhatsApping me, ringing me. Oh, shit. He doesn't like to. He gets on you. But yeah. And I thought, I'm going to go with you guys because you're what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And I think not only that, it helps give the customer a better service as well. And your customer service, actually, or Mark's, I don't know who does what really, but the customer service of Life Cycle has been absolutely unreal. Like they contact you all the time, go you through that whole journey with you, give you loads of support. So if people are listening to this and they're wanting to switch website or CRM system, definitely give you guys a go.
I appreciate it. It's literally been a nice wrap up for that.
Thank you.
So one question I always like to sort of leave with people on. So you're in this sort of new stage. You started to look at this new way of working and new way of insights with looking at your data. So like for anyone out there who's listened to this podcast, and we've gone for a big roller coaster of your ups and downs, your lows, your highs, culture. So much you've given out there. Where do you see, like, you got the rise of the self-employed model and everyone talks about that, but where do you see, like, in your area, where do you see, if you are listening to this and you're on a stage and you're thinking, God, Rob's spoken a lot of sense, where do you believe, like, maybe in the next 5-10 years that most agents probably need to focus their efforts on? With your experience, just your own.
I think again is what I said before, not getting worked up in the noise of how people can change things or being these disruptors. It's about making sure that you are connected, looking at what advancements are happening in technology, making sure that you're relevant. Like I said, I think that's the most important thing. I think it's very easy to become complacent, and allow other agents, new ones, come in with their better prop tech and their different mindsets, come and take you over. So if you don't, if you don't stay relevant, you're just going to sink.
Yeah, someone's going to come and take it instead.
But I don't think. I think things are going to get very, very exciting over the next few years in agency with the tech that we're seeing now.
So I come to the end now, Rob.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you coming on, because that was a lot to unpack there. So I just want to say, thanks for just opening up a bit more, and hopefully you can inspire some other leadership people in business who might be going through that same process to maybe seek out the right relevant help they need.
Yeah, of course.
Today.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Thanks for listening to this Estate Agency X podcast. Can you make sure that you're actually subscribed to this podcast channel if you liked the content? It helps us massively to get better guests, and it just helps us generally. So you might think you're subscribed, but just have a double check, whatever your podcast platform of preference is, that you're actually subscribed. And then that way we can continue to grow the channel and get better and better guests for you.